One of the biggest rating hits of the coronavirus, aside from these briefings, has been a show on Netflix called Tiger King.
Yeah.
And the man who's the star of this is a former zoo owner who's serving a 22-year prison sentence. He's asking you for a pardon, saying he was unfairly convicted. Your son yesterday jokingly said that he was going to advocate for it, and I was wondering if you've seen the show and if you have any thoughts on pardoning Joe Exotic.
Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. Hope you guys are staying safe and healthy out there. These are the topics that we're going to be covering today, and that video clip that you guys saw, I just added in for fun. If you're curious to see how Trump responds, make sure you guys watch this entire video because I'll be playing the remaining clip at the end of the video. If you're short on time and you want to jump around to the most relevant part of the video, as always, I included timestamps in the description below. And remember, everything I cover on this channel is in the context of Bitcoin. So when it comes to the coronavirus updates and the stimulus efforts, in addition to providing an update, I also give you the implications for Bitcoin. And in this particular video, I'm actually giving you guys a bonus. I'm going to let you guys know what my tentative plans for my 401k are, and how I may potentially adjust my passive income plan when it comes to crypto and the legacy market. If you find yourself enjoying this video, I welcome you guys to subscribe and click the notification bell. Not only do I do weekly updates, but I also extensively cover the DeFi platforms. And if you find value in the content that I present today, make sure to smack that like button. And if there's a topic that you would like me to cover, or if you'd like me to do something a little bit differently, make sure you express that opinion in the comment section below. With that being said, let's go ahead and dive into this video.
Explain the new changes to your model, because we've had you on before and you've always pointed out as more information comes in, as more data comes in, the numbers will change. Why the lowering now?
So two key things we've been able to incorporate with all the influx of new data in the United States. First, we found out a lot more about hospital practice. And so what we're seeing is that hospitals, particularly in New York, but elsewhere in the country, are admitting fewer people compared to what the original data suggested. Compared to every death that we see, they're putting fewer people into the ICU, and there's lower ventilator requirements. So that's brought down the sort of shortage estimates quite a bit because of that new data influx. And the other big news is that we're seeing peaks in the epidemic in other places other than China, in Italy, in Spain. In fact, 7 different regions have seen the epidemic peak and come down, and that really informs our models about the impact and the effectiveness of social distancing.
This bit of information sits in sharp contrast to what Deborah Birx told reporters last week. She said, if we do things together well, almost perfectly, we could get in range of 100,000 to 200,000 fatalities. The best case scenario would be 100% of Americans doing what is required. And if you guys remember last week, I told you guys that these people are basically going off the data that they're getting. So their output is only good as their input. And given that they haven't tested everybody in the United States, there's no way that they're getting accurate data for their projections. And for that reason, I speculated that we could potentially get numbers lower than 100,000. And it's a little bit early for me to start taking victory laps. I mean, we still have some time left. Anything could happen. And I actually work at a hospital. Anecdotally speaking, this is probably one of the slowest weeks we've had at the hospital. And I'm actually hearing the same thing echoed from my friends who also work in healthcare. Even Dr. Fossey was changing his tune. He said, although one of the original models projected 100,000 to 200 deaths, as we're getting more data, seeing the positive effect of mitigation, those numbers are going to be downgraded. I don't know exactly what the numbers are going to be, but right now it looks like it's going to be less than the original projection. And on top of all that, the Institute of Health, Metrics, and Evaluation at Washington University lowered its death toll projection by nearly 20,000 Wednesday, and now predicts that just over 60,000 Americans will die in the first wave of COVID-19 pandemic. IHME model also lowered its prediction for the number of hospital beds and ventilators that will be needed on the country's projected peak usage date by 1/3, now at 94,000 and 16,000 respectively. And I want to reiterate that, of course, anything could happen. We could see a lot of this reverse in the other direction. But for now, I'm going to remain optimistic. I think there's a good chance that we get rid of this sooner than most people think. And the reason why this is important in the context of Bitcoin is because currently they're adding a lot of stimulus to the economy. So the longer this drags on, the more and more stimulus that they're going to add. And if my projections are correct and we end up getting rid of this fairly quickly, at that point, you'll see them try to reopen the economy. The more stimulus that they add now, the stronger the tailwind is going to be for the market. Not only the legacy market, but I think all this money printing that the banks have been engaged in and all these handouts the government's giving out in the effort to stimulate the economy will be the ideal backdrop for the mother of all crypto rallies.
Mr. President,
yeah.
you have been very consistently supportive of a payroll relief tax.
A what payroll?
Payroll relief. Now, I know you're still busy trying to implement
Right.
phase 3, but as we move towards phase 4,
Yeah.
are there still obstacles to that? Because that would put money in American pockets like
Yeah,
consistently.
you're right. I would love to see a payroll, good questions. I would love to see a payroll tax cut. And I think on behalf of the people, it would be quick. Now, it's a longer term, it's a longer time because it's over a period of a year or whatever you want to make it. But I would love to see a payroll tax cut. There are many people that would like to see it as a permanent tax cut, payroll tax cut.
What is stopping it from?
Well, the Democrats right now are stopping it.
What are their reasons?
I don't know. I don't know. If maybe they think it's good politics to stop it. But you'd get a lot of people, a lot of money immediately. The payroll tax cut would be a great thing for this country. I would like to have it regardless of this, but this would be a fantastic time to have the payroll tax cut. The Democrats are stopping it, but I don't think they're, I think there's a certain flexibility. I think it's something that we should do, both for business and the people. But this would get money into the hands of small business immediately, money in the hands of people, the workers and people immediately, and it would be over an extended period, and it would be simple to do. It's so easy to do. It's a great tax cut, and I'd love you to speak to the Democrats and let's get it done. So I'm going to give this.
Not only are they talking about a payroll tax cut, but I heard Kudlow also mention a capital gains tax cut, meaning you wouldn't pay any capital gains tax on the profits that you make on your investments. And presumably this would also apply to your investment in Bitcoin. So think about that. People will have a larger disposable income to invest. And on top of that, if they keep their funds invested for 2 years, they're not going to have to pay taxes on any of the gains. In my view, this is like rocket fuel for the legacy markets, but also the crypto markets. But my guess is that it won't come until later. Initially, they're going to try to get as much money as they can to Americans and also do their best to save jobs. To put it simply, what they're trying to do is basically put a pause on the economy. And when the coronavirus goes away and everybody goes back to work, their hope is that the economy will go back to where we left off in a relatively short period of time. I mean, just take a look at the small business loans and what they're designed to do. If the small business uses their loan to pay their overhead costs and also the wages of their employees, they won't have to pay a single penny back on the loan. It'll be transformed into a grant. And the wording is carefully crafted so that way employers are incentivized not to fire a single employee. In fact, there's even incentives built in to hire the employee back by the end of June. Here's a pretty good video that goes into the details of the loan and what its core objectives are.
America's small businesses are reeling from the effects of the COVID-19 crisis. President Trump just passed the CARES Act, which provides billions in aid for America's entrepreneurs through its Paycheck Protection Program. This program provides forgivable loans to any business with 500 employees or less, restaurant or hotel companies with fewer than 500 employees per location, sole proprietors, independent contractors, and gig workers. The amount any small business is eligible to borrow is 250% of their average monthly payroll expenses, up to a total of $10 million. The forgivable loan can be used for expenses, including payroll, interest payments on mortgages, rent payments, leases, and utilities. It can be used for 8 weeks of expenses between February 15th and June 30th, 2020. The goal of the program is to help businesses retain their employees. If you lay off employees, the forgiveness will be reduced by the % decrease in the number of employees. For example, if you had 10 employees and laid off 1, 90% of the loan would be forgiven. If your total payroll expenses decrease by more than 25%, loan forgiveness will be reduced by the same amount. If you have already laid off employees, you can still be forgiven for the full amount of your loan if you rehire your employees by June 30th, 2020. The loans are available from any local or national bank that is approved to make SBA loans or is FDIC insured. You do not need to contact the SBA or any other government agency to apply for these loans. Applications are accepted April 3rd through June 30th, 2020. For more information and to download the application, visit jobcreatorsnetwork.com.
In terms of my 401k, for those of you guys who consistently watch my videos, you guys know that around 320, 330, I said the market was looking a little bit tippy-toppy. And for that reason, I actually took out 30 to 40% of my portfolio from my 401k in the form of a loan. And I started dollar cost averaging that money into crypto. Since then, crypto has taken a huge hit, but I still have a decent amount of cash left that I'm using to dollar cost average into crypto every week. But after this huge dip that we had and we got this bounce here, around 2,500 to 2,600, I converted my entire 401k into cash. But at the same time, all the new cash that's going into my portfolio, meaning all the new money that's coming from my paycheck and going into my 401k, every 2 weeks, 100% of that is going into equities. I firmly believe that this market could potentially hit all-time highs again by the end of the year. So for now, what I'm doing is basically watching the Corona business unfold. I'm also paying very close attention to what kind of stimulus that they're adding into the economy. And even though I remain optimistic and I think there's a good chance that we come out of this, I'm going to play it safe until I'm 100% sure that Corona business is going away and that the government's added the appropriate amount of stimulus to the markets. I'm going to sit in cash. But if we get another pullback down, especially if we get down to the 15 to 1800 range, I'm going to be buying massively through my 401k. Now, when it comes to my post-tax dollars, my disposable income, most of that's going to crypto. What I've recently decided to do is basically change up my investment strategy. Before, I was buying companies that I thought were heavily discounted, but I also was buying a lot of tech stocks like Tesla. I was investing heavily into Tesla. In fact, I even sold off some of my stock position when I hit 1K, and I converted some of that to Bitcoin. But I was also buying stocks like Nvidia. But moving forward, I'll probably end up changing that up a little bit. I'm going to continue buying Tesla, but my new focus is going to be energy stocks and REITs. I think energy stocks took a huge hit because oil dropped so much. I mean, you had two major events occurring. Number one, you had that oil war between the Saudis and the Russians. And on top of that, you had Corona happening simultaneously. And because of that, oil went down big time. If I'm right about the market picking back up by the end of the year, the demand for oil will go up. And on top of that, the Saudis and Russians are likely to come to some sort of agreement because there's no way that they could withstand a prolonged bear market in oil. And the other stocks I'm looking to invest in is REITs. I think a lot of them took a huge hit because if we go into a recession, a lot of people aren't going to be able to pay their mortgage. And so I think a lot of people who own REITs decided to dump them, probably just to buy them back cheaper later. But if they're wrong and we don't get a prolonged recession, I think REITs will rebound significantly because currently you can buy very good REITs and get a 10 to 15% yield on them. In an environment where everybody is yield starved, I think you'll see investors flock to REITs once they feel more confident about the economy. And so for the reasons I just outlined, all the new money that's going to be going into my stash account is going to be purchasing oil stocks and REITs. Now, when it comes to my crypto investments, I'm going to still be investing aggressively into crypto. If you guys have been following me, you know I like to use CoinSeed for my dollar cost averaging. In fact, if you look at the screen, you can see that through my dollar cost averaging strategy, I've basically broken even on my portfolio despite that huge pullback that we had. And this is basically my supplementary portfolio. And I also got that cash left over from my 401k. I'll be sending that to either Coinbase or Voyager to purchase coins like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Tezos, Link, and maybe a handful of others. And if you guys are interested in learning more about CoinSeed or Voyager, I've completed very comprehensive reviews on those platforms, so make sure to check out one of those videos that I've published in the past if you're interested in learning more. Kraken Crypto Asset Spotlight. PAX Gold shines amid March market turmoil. Before I begin talking about PAX Gold and its performance over the last few days, I just want to let you guys know, if you guys come here to PublishOx, I've written this extensive article about how to leverage your PAXG token, not only to earn interest, but to potentially generate some liquidity for you. And if you're interested in reading this article, I'll make sure to include a link in the description below for you guys. But this is a pretty cool platform. It's called PublishOx. If you're looking for a platform for crypto-centric news, this is probably one of the more ideal platforms. There's many new and upcoming authors who publish really good content on this platform. And on top of all that, you actually get paid to read and curate other people's content. So again, if you're interested, I'll include a link in the description below along with a video review of the platform. But coming back to PAXG, in a month when most of the crypto asset market was mirrored in red candles, Kraken traders may have noticed one notable exception, PAXG. PAXG trading volume across all trading pairs listed on Kraken increased to almost 13 million in March, up from just over 2 million in February. Trading volumes in USD saw the largest increase, rising 707% in March. If you look at this graph here, you can see that it's sort of decoupled from the crypto market. And if you're not sure what Pax Gold is, it's basically a token running on Ethereum. One Pax Gold is backed by 1 troy ounce of gold. This means that the price of PAXG is tied to the market value of physical gold they represent. And this basically goes into what it is and how it's locked in vaults with credible custodians. And I've gone into this extensively in a past video. If you're interested in learning more about PAXG, I recommend clicking the upper right hand corner of your screen to access that video. And what's ahead for PAXG? If the coronavirus pandemic leads to a global recession, gold may turn out to be a valuable safe haven asset for traders. In the 2008 financial crisis, gold prices initially declined more than 20% before recovering and embarking on an impressive 3-year bull run. And this is basically what we sort of endured in the month of March when everybody sold off everything, including their crypto, gold, equities, everything. And what happened in the 2008 financial crisis was that after everything sold off, you saw safe haven assets eventually decouple. In fact, many Bitcoin advocates think it will prove to be a better long-term store of value than gold. And they expect Bitcoin, along with other crypto assets, to rebound more strongly compared to PAXG in the long run. And being the Bitcoin permabull that I am, I'm inclined to agree with these guys. I think a lot of the traditional investors and the precious metal bulls, they're looking to insulate themselves from all the money printing the banks and the governments are engaged in. So they're buying gold as an hedge. But because I believe Bitcoin could potentially be gold 2.0 or perhaps even the global reserve currency one day, despite the huge drawdown, I'm still more optimistic and bullish on Bitcoin. Lastly, we're going to go over the following article. Bitcoin hash rate increases 33% in 2 days. Will Bitcoin price follow? Typically, when we talk about hash rate in the context of Bitcoin, it's usually referring to how secure the network is and how much it's being used. But many analysts have begun to use it as a means to predict the Bitcoin bottom. Bitcoin hash rate has increased 33% in just 2 days while the price of Bitcoin trails behind. Bitcoin hash rate has exploded from approximately 91 million terahash on April 4th to approximately 121 million terahash on April 6th. The relationship makes sense considering that hash rate represents on one hand the production cost of Bitcoin for miners and on the other hand the overall security of the Bitcoin network. In other words, the higher total hash rate, the more expensive it will be for an adversary to take over the network. This decentralized trust is one of the key values that Bitcoin possesses. If Bitcoin price/hash rate correlation remains constant, we can expect to see a significant price surge. However, these dynamics are further complicated by impending halving of Bitcoin block rewards, which is only 36 days away. With everything else remaining constant after halving, miner revenue will also be halved. On the other hand, for miner revenue to remain at the same level, the price would have to double. The recent surge in Bitcoin hash rate may indicate that miners are betting on the second scenario. In addition, I want you guys to check out this chart from Willy Woo. This is a chart of miner energy ratio. It's the ratio between Bitcoin's market cap to its energy consumption, and currently it's in the buy zone. And Willy Woo further states that profit margins for minting new coins are at a historic low, a good sign for bottoms. With that being said, it's hard to say where the price is going to be in a couple of weeks. A lot of people are bearish at the moment. They claim that the price is rising, but the volume is dropping. And historically speaking, this isn't how we take off from the bottoms. But meanwhile, the backdrop for Bitcoin is incredibly bullish. So with that being said, this is CryptoOneStop signing out. I'll talk to you folks next time. Bye.
One of the biggest rating hits of the coronavirus, aside from these briefings, has been a show on Netflix called Tiger King.
Yeah.
And the man who's the star of this is a former zoo owner who's serving a 22-year prison sentence. He's asking you for a pardon, saying he was unfairly convicted. Your son yesterday jokingly said that he was going to advocate for it, and I was wondering if you've seen the show and if you have any thoughts on pardoning Joe Exotic.
Which son? It must be Don.
It was.
I had a feeling it was Don. Is that what he said? I don't know. I know nothing about it. He has 22 years for what? What did he do?
He allegedly hired someone to murder an animal rights activist, but he said that he didn't do that, and he was.
Do you think he didn't do it? Are you on his side?
Well,
Are
I'm a
you
reporter. I
are you
shouldn't take
recommending a
sides.
pardon?
No, I'm not advocating
As a
anything.
reporter, you're not allowed to do that. You'd be criticized by these. Would you recommend a pardon?
I'm not weighing in on time.
I don't think you would. I don't think you would. Go ahead. You have a question? I'll take a look. Is that Joe Exotic? That's Joe Exotic.
Let me get back to
Go ahead.
the coronavirus.